Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Okay, we have quite a few things to discuss today. And the first thing is we might have a new scandal on our hands. We do. And it has to do with U-Haul. Okay. In your area, do you generally know the prices of U-Haul and how much it costs to, say, rent either like a pickup truck or one of their smaller moving vans or however much it costs? Okay, like around here for like a pickup truck, it's like 20 bucks for the day. For one of their smaller moving vans, it's like, I think they advertise like 39.99 or something like that, right? Well, take a look at this and tell me if these prices are the same around you.
Four Horsemen, are you ready? Because I'm gonna vent before I tell you what I'm doing in North Carolina. But I'm officially in Asheville, North Carolina. But I have a question. U-Haul. Can you answer this question for me? This is how much it cost me to rent my U-Haul truck in Lucedale, Mississippi. Right here. See that? Okay. So I get up to Asheville. I was going to grab just a regular pickup truck, drive home in. This is the prices up here. Now, why is it a $600 and $700 price difference to rent a U-Haul truck up here in a disaster area? If anything, personally, I believe that y'all should come together and make that a little cheaper for people trying to move out and move stuff in or whatever needs to be done in this disaster area of North Carolina. Just me. But if y'all could, maybe we could all just tag the U-Haul. I know they got a TikTok. Yeah, let's all tag U-Haul in the comment section. Let's ask them that question, because this has got to be the definition of price gouging, if you ask me. What do y'all think?
Now, I, I don't know. Okay, when you think you've seen it all and heard it all, okay, looters are threatening to call the cops on store management because they were attempting to stop them from looting. Excuse me, you in the back there. Who died and left you boss to think that you can come into any retail store and call the cops on management because you don't feel like getting off of your lazy ass, getting a job, earning money, and go to a store like the rest of us and paying with actual hard money that you earned with your own two fucking hands? What the hell is going on around here?
Stupid. I might as well just put that down.
Who's opening his door?
What?
Open the door.
Or put that down.
Okay.
Huh? Go ahead, put it over there.
You have activated our
What the?
inventory control.
Don't touch me. You don't have the right to touch me. Don't not on my kids. I'm
Put your kids away. Go call them. Call them.
You
Call them. Call
can't
them.
touch me though.
Call them then. Go ahead, call them.
Whoa.
Go ahead, put that down.
Y'all just win. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this TikTok person wants the military, okay, wants the military to carry out a coup on the incoming Trump administration. Okay. Sweetheart, if you haven't learned by now, just about everybody in the military voted for 47. Okay? Yeah.
I think that we are underrating the possibility that the military may have to coup Trump. In the past days, he has been talking about purging the military of generals and replacing them with loyalists. He is talking about deploying the military to carry out these mass deportations. And this has been unconfirmed, but NBC is reporting that Donald Trump is planning on having military tribunals for military officers who were involved in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. The one that he orchestrated, by the way. And I guess my question is the military really just going to roll over and say, sure, parade these innocent military officers in front of a tribunal and charge them with treason? Sure. Like, are there discussions happening right now in the military? Like, hey, what do we do when Trump oversteps? Or are they just going to go along with this whole thing?
So, Johnson and Johnson, okay, They make all of like the baby products that we used on our kids when they were growing up, like the powder and the soap and the shampoo, the tearless shampoo and stuff like that. Remember all that stuff that we used on our kids? They are creating a subsidiary companies and then letting them go bankrupt in order to escape liability and lawsuits from people getting cancer from their products. Yeah. And these allegations and the documents are being hidden from the public and the legal maneuvering. Something bigger is going to emerge. I can smell it. Okay? And legal experts believe it's the end game of decades-long strategy that could help Johnson & Johnson escape responsibility for thousands of these cases, while thousands of women are left fighting battles on two fronts, against the cancer and against the justice system that is failing them.
Oftentimes, the most audacious scandal
Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and other talc products cause cancer.
involves the most routine paperwork. In August 2024, Johnson & Johnson created a subsidiary in Texas. They called it Red River Talc. The managers, all based at J&J headquarters in New Jersey. In Texas, no employees, no products, no real business at all, just paperwork. Red River is registered here. We found the phone number, but when we called,
You're speaking to CT Corporation, so we're not Johnson & Johnson, we're CT Corporation. And that's really all I'm going to say.
a month later, it all made sense.
A Johnson & Johnson subsidiary filing for bankruptcy protection for the third time.
Bankruptcy. Johnson & Johnson is one of the most profitable companies in America. It's worth more than $350 billion. Why would one of the most profitable companies in the world create a subsidiary only to declare it bankrupt? Not once, but 3 times since 2021. So I started to dig into it. The allegations, the documents hidden from the public, and the legal maneuvering. Something bigger emerged. Legal experts believe it's the endgame of a decades-long strategy that could help J&J escape responsibility for thousands of cancer cases, while thousands of women are left fighting battles on 2 fronts, against a disease and against a justice system that is failing them. The question is, will J&J's strategy work?
If a company can get by with these types of tactics, then the American people are in serious danger.
Most likely, my mother used the powder. That was the big thing back then in the 40s and 50s.
What's that stuff? Johnson's baby powder.
I have 2 girls, and I also used it on them. And then in turn, they used it on their sons, their children, too.
Women like Marianne trusted Johnson & Johnson's baby powder for generations. It wasn't just a product, it was a ritual passed down from mother to child. The marketing worked so well that by the late 1960s, an internal memo crowned baby powder the cornerstone of Johnson & Johnson's entire baby business. The product itself was simple, talc, a mineral mined from the earth. But in 1966, academics published a troubling discovery. Talc had no medicinal value. Worse, it was linked to 3 deaths. The warning made its way through Johnson & Johnson's executive offices.
There was a concern starting in the 1970s about asbestos being in talc because of testing done by the FDA.
That's Jessica Dean. She's a plaintiff's attorney. For over a decade, she's been fighting Johnson & Johnson in court over the deadly discovery of asbestos in talc, the mineral used in baby powder.
The problem is that talc and asbestos often grow together. It has been known for decades to be a common impurity in talc.
Asbestos causes mesothelioma, a cancer that destroys organ linings from within. It's also linked to ovarian cancer. No amount of processing can make it safe.
You're mixing a carcinogen into a powder product designed to be used on children and designed to be used in our homes. And that's the problem at the core of what Johnson & Johnson did.
The government had concerns pretty early. In 1972, they called a meeting to review an FDA study that found asbestos in a huge chunk of products on store shelves. 5 members of J&J went, along with some other industry groups. And this is where the paper trail picks up. According to the meeting summary, an industry lobbyist pushed to keep the FDA study secret, saying it could cause great economic hardship for the companies. J&J said that the government's positive asbestos tests were faulty, and that their own tests came back negative. That's more or less the company's position on testing to this day.
They will boast, look at how many tests we've done that don't show asbestos. And they use tests that were underpowered. A simple example I can think of is if you are trying to weigh a feather, you don't use a bathroom scale. It's not going to show up. You need to have something that is more sensitive.
Coming out of that meeting, the government agreed to let companies self-test, and Johnson & Johnson promised to share their own records, swearing they found nothing concerning.
When they made that promise, they had already done testing revealing asbestos in the actual samples from Dr. Lewin at the FDA. In fact, a third of the fibers in baby powder were tremolite asbestos. There were over 400 samples evidencing asbestos in talc that J&J knew about after they promised our government will give you everything, and we now know they didn't give them any of it.
Jessica isn't the only one alleging this. At this point, it's more or less common knowledge. Real people paid the price.
Never thought that I would have cancer. It was a shock. First time, the tumor was the size of a cantaloupe.
Marianne beat ovarian cancer in 2008, only to see it return 4 years later.
And one of the hardest things was, I couldn't see my grandchildren because they were both in school, and I couldn't be around people that might have germs. I didn't see friends.
If you had a chance to speak directly with Johnson & Johnson executives, what would you ask them?
Why? Why did you lie? Why did you keep it hidden for so long?
The answer may lie in J&J's own documents.
So there's a series of documents, and we even found a videotape of something called baby camp.
One of the documents outlines trust.
And they said the way you get that emotional trust is the mother-baby bond, is making people, when they think of Johnson & Johnson, think about the care a mother has for their brand new infant. And that if you can tap into that, you're going to make bags of money. And that's not something I came up with. That's their visual depiction of a bag of money with the words mother-infant bond on it. And look, if they had a safe product, go for it. But once you know concretely 60 years ago that there is an impurity in that powder you're crushing and putting in a bottle to be put on babies, and that impurity has been known to kill people, this becomes horrific. And they built this as the backbone of a company that we all rely on.
For decades, the whole thing went like clockwork. Concerns about talc would surface, and J&J would perfect the art of making them disappear.
They would hire experts that they believed they could control, and that's the word they used in their own documents. They would go after anyone who tried to show the truth and say, let's compromise them. Again, that is the word they used over and over and over again.
But by the late 2010s, the strategy fell apart. Cancer victims started winning lawsuits against Johnson & Johnson. And then, in 2018, the dam broke.
A St. Louis jury yesterday awarded $4.1 billion in punitive damages and $550 million in compensatory damages to 22 women and their families who claimed that asbestos in the product had caused their ovarian cancer.
But that lawsuit was just the start. Right now, 50,000 women are suing Johnson & Johnson over ovarian cancer from their baby powder. The potential liability, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. It could be existential, even for a giant like J&J. Which is why Johnson & Johnson is desperately trying to build an escape route through that Texas company, Red River Talc.
It's frightening. If Johnson
out, everything pauses while you fix what's broken. The catch? Courts watch your every move. Real companies move fast in bankruptcy. They don't want a court telling them how to run their business. But Red River Talc, it's just paper. There's no factories, there's no business to watch over. But when it declares bankruptcy, those cancer lawsuits freeze. And that's exactly what J&J wants.
They can hold, the victims hostage. They just use it as a weapon.
When we're talking about people who have had some sort of asbestos exposure or similar allegations, the claimants are dying.
That's Melissa Jacoby. She's a law professor and expert on America's bankruptcy system.
In the meantime, all those jury trials are being canceled.
J&J claims this is about fairness, that the bankruptcy creates an orderly process for victims. And if you want to see how fair it really is, just look at what happened at the paper giant Georgia Pacific. In 2017, Georgia Pacific dumped all of their asbestos cases into a subsidiary and declared bankruptcy in North Carolina.
Those cancer victims have not received a dime. That case has just been held hostage since 2017.
Here's the kicker. While the victims waited, many died. Meanwhile, Georgia-Pacific has paid their parent company, Koch Industries, $3 billion in dividends, triple what they offered victims.
They're using this time as a lever, to just force, women and their families into accepting pennies on the dollar settlement offers.
J&J is offering $9 billion. It sounds like a lot, until you divide it between the tens of thousands of victims, their lawyers, and anyone who gets sick in the future.
Many of our clients are having to turn to bankruptcy, legitimate bankruptcy, because of the mounting cost in medical bills.
What's more, the $9 billion pool of money, or bankruptcy trust, would be administered by someone on J&J's payroll.
When she's been paid $1.8 million over the course of these past 3 years for work for J&J, it is troubling.
And crucially, the settlement would cap the company's future liability, which is the end game of this whole scheme.
There may be women who are long-term users who do not develop ovarian cancer until 2030 or 2040.
If the Texas two-step works, future victims lose their constitutional right to a jury trial. Instead of a court, they'd face a bankruptcy trust.
If corporate America can resort to a bankruptcy and strip victims of the right to civil trial, we have just taken the U.S. Constitution and we have ripped out the 7th Amendment.
The good news? So far the bankruptcies have been rejected. First, North Carolina. J&J picked it for easy bankruptcies. The judge said no, you're a New Jersey company. Round 2, New Jersey, where they couldn't explain how they're suddenly broke. 2 tries, 2 fails. And now they're trying in Texas. And the thing is, there's more fishy stuff in this story. We can't cover it all. We asked J&J about talc safety and bankruptcy. If you want to read their full response, go ahead and press pause now. But it's basically 270 words defending their talc and blaming greedy lawyers and a gullible media. But on bankruptcy, complete silence. And now they're claiming 80% of victims want the $9 billion settlement deal. But there are credible reports that J&J recruited women with cancers that can't be linked to baby powder. In other words, women who wouldn't get a payout from J&J unless they joined in support of this $9 billion settlement.
What seems to be happening, at least in the Johnson & Johnson example, and perhaps others, is a recruitment of claims that are far less rigorously evaluated.
We call it stuffing the ballot box. That's what they're doing.
These are not the ways we would ordinarily treat commercial creditors in bankruptcy.
While J&J continues to push their scheme, there's actually a bipartisan bill that would stop them sitting in Congress right now.
I testified at a Senate hearing in 2023 about these cases, and there was bipartisan frustration with corporate use of bankruptcy when the companies were very profitable, and their only problem they were trying to solve is capping liability for mass tort.
I am hopeful that Congress will intervene here. I'm also deeply concerned because I know that J&J has tremendous lobbying power, and they are lobbying for legislation that would go the other way.
Meanwhile, women like Marianne are left waiting.
Johnson & Johnson has to be held accountable for what they've done. They're not going bankrupt. And as again, that'll set a precedent for other companies to try to get away with all this. And it's not right. It's not morally right what they're doing.
Now, this woman that you were about to listen to is an absolute legend. She is. Take a listen.
Your hat, is this your secret to staying warm?
No.
No, it isn't.
I have no secrets. I'm mad, I have to go to work, I have to earn a living. I'd rather have a private income and get laid well and often.
Now, I don't know if any of you have heard about this because mainstream media has censored the hell out of it, so let's make it go viral. More than 5,000 Catholics walked down the streets of New York City praying and signing and singing for peace. They sure did. So I'm going to read some emails to you that I got that came in from community members, okay? She goes, how you doing? Hey, listen, I'm doing, right? She said, it's been relatively quiet here in my neck of the woods, which is in northern Utah, but she said, I'll tell you, if ever the words, get your house in order, hit close to home for me, it's right now. Oh, motherfungal, are you serious? What happened? She said, my small town just ran out of culinary water today. Really? No kidding. She said, yeah, you read that right. We have been shut off. How the hell does that even happen? She said, so here's the situation. My town water department found a massive leak happening somewhere within a system 4 days ago. They have worked night and day trying to locate the leak so they can repair it. But so far they have dug up miles of dirt, no leak in sight. Our 1 million gallon holding tank went from 100% full to 6% in 4 days. What the hell? Tell them to get some Blue Devil and pour it down there. It'll stop the leak in no time. I'm kidding. So she said, Blue Devil is, it'll fix a radiator leak in like 30 seconds. Sorry. So anyway, she said, we have 357 homes hooked into the water system and not enough people to use that much water in 4 days. I received the email alerts for days about what they were doing, but today I got the dreaded shut off email. About 5 minutes later, my husband and myself received phone calls from the county stating that the next town over would have emergency filling stations, but there is no time frame as to when we will have running water again. I've spent the last 4 days washing clothes, washing dishes, mopping floors, scrubbing toilets, tubs, showers, and filling extra jugs. I've never understood exactly what the phrase "get your house in order" meant. Huh? Yeah, until our water supply was being threatened to be shut off. Luckily, I've been prepared for years with bottled water, 255-gallon drums full in my basement. We have water, but making sure everything was clean was a big priority for me. Just goes to show you never know what the reason for your preparedness will actually be. Anyway, I hope you and your family are doing well. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. Well, thank you. Yeah, see, you know, when people tell you get your house in order, it's not like, oh, do it for, because right now within 24 hours something's going to happen. It's because there's signs, and that means something's going to happen. We just don't know when. Okay. Thank you for emailing me, sweetie. So here's an email from a community member, and she said, my take on the drones. She said it's our government. Well, yeah, it is. Actually, it's government-funded military contractors. That's exactly what it is. And she said, and they haven't attempted to shoot them down. They will use them for either bioweapons, what an easy way to spread disease through the air to infect people so they become sick and need a they can make billions off of more, put us on lockdown. They don't have the manpower, so what better way to watch where we go? They are practicing for that now. Notice the time when people see the drones. Yeah, at night. Yeah. I know. Thank you for writing in, sweetheart. So here is one more, okay, email for you. She wrote in and she left me some links, so I'll put those in the description box for you, okay? She said, this looks like this corroborates with what I was talking about. She said, the orbs part is interesting. Below is a link to a reaction video of Cliff High's findings, okay? The hour-long video is very repetitive due to the breaking in at intervals for new people. But minutes 22 to 30 is a very good summary. I also hasten to add that I read somewhere long ago that a possible explanation for the Phoenix lights was this: when two streams of light which are visible to the human eye intersect, the point of intersection becomes visible. Sounds like Project Blue Beam kind of thing. Have you ever seen China's holiday drones? No, I have not. She said, if not, let me know and I'll track down a video for you. If I had the knowledge, I'd want to do this on our 4th of July shows locally instead of fireworks, especially during a drought period. They're so sophisticated. They could be used for the Antichrist signs and wonders like Blue Beam. Huh, interesting. So the article that she sent in reads like this. The big mystery about drones being seen all over New Jersey seems to have been solved. Photos make clear at least some of the drones are Pterodynamics XP4 trans-wings drones being developed for the U.S. Navy. Others are nuclear detection drones. The XP4 is being readied for work picking up and dropping off packages to a moving ship, even in high seas and high winds. As its name implies, it's a trans-wing design, meaning it can switch from an aircraft-type winged flight to a quadcopter-type design for vertical takeoff and landing. Officially, it has a 1-hour flight time, but that could have been easily upgraded. It's about 13 feet wide, 6 feet long, closely matching the descriptions provided by so many witnesses. Very, very many of the sightings and reports about these drones show them traveling most directly up the New Jersey coastline, and wouldn't you know it, right where most of the reports are coming from and perfectly along the flight path is Joint Base McGuire, Dix, and Lakehurst, home of the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, right? This also explains why drones are appearing every night in much of the same area and sticking around so long. They have a base they can go and swap the batteries all night. Not all of the drones being seen are close in description to the XP4. It seems that other types of drones are also being tested, specifically running nighttime missions between the air base and the U.S. Navy ship offshore. One of the types of drones also being flown over New Jersey and New York are American-made HPGE nuclear detective drones. They can detect gamma rays from miles away. Gamma rays are dangerous forms of radiation that can penetrate the bodies of living organisms and harm those organisms to varying degrees depending upon the intensity of the gamma rays and the duration of exposure. These HPE drones were originally designed to inspect nuclear facilities, but that's not what these drones are for. These drones are for sweeping a large area in a grid pattern to find a potential dirty bomb or potential other nuclear device potentially being smuggled in to detonate in a terrorist attack. Get the hell out of here. Are we serious? Many witnesses have commented that the drones they see appear to be sweeping over an area in grid pattern, as if they're looking for something specific. The reason they are operating in a grid pattern is not only to practice looking for something, but also because the drones are programmed to operate in a mesh network operating in the 200 gigahertz communications band. 200 gigahertz is very directional and requires bulky horn antennas to function. It turns out the United States Department of Defense bought, ready for this, hundreds of thousands of these drones. They can be programmed to swarm a city. Why the hell would they waste their time and energy and money on something like that? Back in 2009 and 2010, the Department of Defense needed a response to the threat of dirty bombs being smuggled in by ISIS to a U.S. port city. DoD has been stocking up on these drones since 2010. The drones look weird because the nuclear detection gear requires a large and heavy cryo cooler to be mounted beneath it for the gamma radiation detectors. And as mentioned, the giant horn antennas to communicate the wave frequency that cannot be jammed. Here's the dicey part. These drones are being used right now inside of Ukraine. Why? That's the first time these devices have been deployed in a combat zone. Sources are now saying that the purposes of these drone flights are, first, the Navy is testing how the public will react. Well, okay, have you ever seen the show The Colony? It was only on for like 3 seasons. Okay. The guy who was on the show Lost, he played Sawyer, the guy with the blonde hair, and then the woman who played Lori on The Walking Dead, those two were in it, okay? This is reminding me of The Colony with all of these drones and whatnot. Yeah, if you ever get the chance to watch The Colony, watch that. Second, they are testing their ability to sweep a densely populated area, large area in a grid pattern without communication disruption or loss of drone control. They are very reluctant to even send the drones into Manhattan because of the real potential of losing communication with drone amidst the towering skyscrapers and enormous electromagnetic interference from all the electronic gizmos and gadgets operating in that area. So why all the hush hush? They are, in fact, U.S. government drones, and they don't want to talk about it. Well, if you don't want to talk about it, why deploy them? It seems some folks in the U.S. government have forgotten that they work for us, the people of the United States, whose hard work, ingenuity, and heavy tax burden make their entire existence possible. One other source said the government is, in fact, looking for a dirty bomb that perpetrators are allegedly trying to sneak into New York City to detonate as part of an attack. They said something about Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Times Square as possible targets. I heard about that too. Yeah, I've heard about that. All of the bridges and tunnels in and out of New York City are equipped with radiation detectors. NYPD years ago gave most of their 38,000 police officers belt-worn radiation detectors about the size of a belt-worn pocket pager that would beep and vibrate if they detected radiation nearby. Oh, no, that's cool. I don't know if NYPD still deploys such devices, but they did at one time in the past. It seems to be virtually impossible for a terrorist to sneak such a device into New York City, but virtually impossible is not impossible. There is a third source who said that there are drones with flight lights that are all over the news now, but there are other objects referred to as orbs. They are glowing balls that fly through the air, and no one knows what they are, what they're doing, or who, where they are from. He went on to say that all the drones you see with the flight lights are out looking for the orbs that glow. So see what they are, where they are, and who is operating them. The glowing orbs are the UFOs. I don't fucking believe that for 2 seconds. Huh. Wow. Now that's some interesting shiznit, isn't it? No joke. All right, y'all. I'm out of here, okay? I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless. Ciao.